Here's HealthWise with Karen McKay.
We are 6 weeks into the new year, so how's it going with your New Year's resolution? A survey by Forbes Health found the most popular resolve in 2024 was to improve fitness. Dr. Toby Brooks, an athletic trainer at the Texas Tech Health Sciences Center, says if you've lost your motivation, it's worth the effort to start or get back into a routine, because he says exercise is the universal prescription for a better life.
We think about medications as a solution to a problem, but they're really symptom management more often than not, whereas exercise is treating the source. And
Toby Brooks says it's ironic that we can develop a habit of taking a number of pills at certain times every day, so that should mean that we can be just as disciplined about planning a certain amount of movement every day. But it's so easy to find so many excuses.
We assume that, oh, I don't have the equipment to do that, or I can't afford it, or I don't have the time, or we make a list of excuses for ourselves, when in fact, the best advice I can give anyone is start where you are with what you have, how you are, and figuring out a way to make do.
Brooks says if you're not getting any exercise, start small, committing 5 minutes a day and increasing that by another 5 minutes as you build strength. He says too many people start with a plan that's too big.
I'm going to exercise for 2 hours a day, and you can do that for 2 or 3 weeks. That's great, but what is sustainable? If it's not sustainable, then it's really just a short-term solution.
Walking is good for the heart, but strength training is important too, because it increases muscle mass, something we lose as we age. So Brooks has this tip for lifting weights, especially if balance can be an issue.
Instead of just doing something like, a front raise where it's bilateral or a lateral raise where it's bilateral, we could just switch that up. And now, as we do this, kind of feels like a cheerleader move, but it's pulling my body one direction versus the other. Instead of those forces balancing out and me not having to stabilize, now I'm having to use my trunk and my core muscles to keep me from falling.
The jump stretch band is an inexpensive tool that can make you stronger.
These come in differing widths, so the wider the band, the heavier the resistance.
He says if you can't wrap it around a pole, just put it between your feet. The wider your feet, the harder the pull.
The wider I set my feet, the more I stretch the band, the greater the resistance becomes, and likewise, the less I stretch the band, the easier it becomes.
He says be practical about the exercise you choose. It's all about consistency, so keep moving in some activity that you can enjoy doing every day. And he says if your New Year's resolution to get more fit fell apart, maybe the time or location was a problem. Maybe you know now you need a friend to get fit with. Bottom line, he says, don't give up.
When people tell me, oh, I set my New Year's resolution and, it's January 20th and I've already, messed it up. Well, what's your February resolution? There's nothing magical about January 1.
So how about February 14th and start tomorrow? He says you don't have to buy expensive weights to do this. You can do things at home like food cans or water bottles or milk jugs, just anything that'll give you some resistance.
When I go in for a checkup, Dr. Mitchell would always say, have you started strength training?
Well, now we can.
Yeah, I always say, how about them Raiders? High school hoop madness continues tonight.
Did you just listen to all that? Scores and highlights from the playoffs next.
Soon.